Token budget analysis. Task asterisk. Write a 1300-word story based on the given title. Required tokens asterisk. Approximately 1,800 minus 2,000 for the story content and response. Available budget asterisk. 190,000 tokens. Assessment asterisk. Well within budget. The rain hammered against the windshield like 1,000 desperate fingers seeking shelter. Marcus wiped his grease-stained hands on his coveralls, the fluorescent lights of his small garage flickering as another crack of thunder split the October sky. It was past midnight, and he should have been home hours ago, but the Johnsons' minivan wouldn't fix itself, and they needed it for their daughter's medical appointments. Some things couldn't wait, even when your own 8-year-old was sleeping at your sister's place for the third time this week. He was just pulling down the garage door when he saw her, a silhouette against the storm, expensive heels clicking unevenly on the wet pavement, a designer blazer soaked through and clinging to her shoulders. She was running, but not the kind of running that suggested exercise. This was the desperate kind, the kind that came from having nowhere else to go. "Excuse me." Her voice cut through the rain, refined but trembling. "Please, are you still open?" Marcus hesitated, his hand on the door. Every instinct told him to be cautious. This was Detroit, after all, and midnight visitors rarely brought good news. But something in her voice, a raw vulnerability that money couldn't disguise, made him pause. "Car trouble," he called back, squinting through the downpour. She stumbled closer, and under the garage's single overhead light, he could see her more clearly. Mid-30s, probably, with the kind of polished appearance that came from corner offices and business magazines. Mascara streaked down her cheeks, though whether from rain or tears, he couldn't tell. Her phone dangled uselessly from her hand, its cracked screen dark. I don't have car trouble," she said, her voice breaking. "I need help. Please. She looked over her shoulder, a flash of fear crossing her face. "Can I sleep in your car? Just for tonight. I'll pay you whatever you want." Marcus froze. In 15 years of running his father's garage, he'd heard a lot of strange requests, but this was new. Everything about this woman screamed wealth and success, the kind of person who probably had 3 cars and a house in the suburbs. Yet here she was, standing in a thunderstorm at midnight, asking a stranger if she could sleep in his car. "Ma'am, I think you need to explain what's going on," he said carefully, not moving from the doorway. She wrapped her arms around herself, shivering. "My name is Victoria Chen. I'm the CEO of Chen Innovations downtown. Or I was, until about 6 hours ago." A bitter laugh escaped her lips. "My business partner, the man I trusted with everything, embezzled $3 million and framed me for it. The FBI froze all my accounts this afternoon. My apartment's been seized. My car's been impounded. Everyone I called, my friends, my colleagues, they all said the same thing. They can't risk being associated with me right now." Marcus studied her face, looking for signs of deception or drugs or whatever might explain this surreal moment. But all he saw was exhaustion and genuine terror. "Why not a shelter? Or a hotel? My cards don't work. I have $63 in my purse. The shelters are full. I already tried 3. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "And I'm scared. He knows people. Dangerous people. If they find me at a shelter." She didn't finish the sentence. Something in Marcus's chest tightened. He thought of his daughter, Emma, with her gap-toothed smile and her constant questions about why some people had so much while others had so little. He thought of his late wife, Sarah, who never passed a person in need without stopping. He thought of all the times he'd been one paycheck away from disaster, saved only by the kindness of neighbors and strangers who became friends. "Come inside," he heard himself say. "You can't sleep in a car. That's ridiculous." Victoria's eyes widened. "I don't want to impose. You're soaked through and it's 38 degrees out here. Come on." He pulled the garage door open wider, gesturing her inside. She hesitated for one more moment, then stepped into the warm, oil-scented air of the garage. Marcus grabbed a clean shop towel from his desk and handed it to her. "My apartment's upstairs," he said, pointing to a narrow staircase in the corner. "It's not much, but it's warm and dry. You can sleep on the couch." "I can't." "Yes, you can. I've got an early morning, so I'll be up at 5 anyway. You can stay until you figure things out." He paused, then added, "No strings attached. I've got a daughter. I'd like to think if she were ever in trouble, someone would help her too. Tears spilled down Victoria's cheeks, and she covered her mouth with her hand. For a moment, she couldn't speak, and Marcus awkwardly patted her shoulder, unsure what else to do. Why? She finally managed. You don't know me. I could be lying. I could be dangerous. Marcus shrugged. Maybe. But you're also a human being who needs help. That's enough. That night, as Victoria slept fitfully on his worn couch under his daughter's favorite blanket, Marcus sat at his small kitchen table and thought about the strange turns life could take. This woman who commanded boardrooms and made million-dollar decisions was now curled up in his modest apartment, vulnerable and alone. It reminded him that success was more fragile than anyone wanted to admit, and that dignity didn't come from bank accounts or job titles. The next morning, Marcus learned that Victoria hadn't been lying. Her story was all over the news: the fallen CEO, the investigation, the betrayal. But he also made a few calls to his network of customers, people who knew people. A retired lawyer who owed him a favor agreed to look at Victoria's case. A journalist who'd gotten his help after a late-night breakdown promised to investigate the embezzlement claims. A small advocacy group that helped white-collar crime victims offered their assistance. Within a week, inconsistencies in the evidence against Victoria began to surface. Security footage her former partner claimed didn't exist was recovered from a backup server. Financial records told a different story than the one being reported. The truth, as it often does, began to emerge from the darkness. 3 months later, Victoria was cleared of all charges. Her former partner was arrested at the airport trying to flee the country. She didn't get everything back. Some things, once broken, can never be fully restored, but she got her life back, her reputation, her future. She never forgot the mechanic who opened his door when everyone else had slammed theirs shut. When she rebuilt her company, stronger and more ethical than before, Marcus found himself with a business partner who invested in his garage, helped him expand, and created jobs in their struggling neighborhood. But more than that, they became genuine friends, two people from different worlds who understood that kindness was the bridge that connected all humanity. Emma, now 9, sometimes asked her father about the night he let a stranger sleep on their couch. Marcus always gave her the same answer: "Sweetheart, we help because it's right, not because it's easy." Sometimes the smallest act of kindness can change someone's entire life. And sometimes, it changes yours too.